So how do you manage it? How is it like to be there, and what are the things that I need to take care of when I reach there? These are so many questions that I have been receiving regarding living in Germany. I am overwhelmed with the response you guys have been showing, but since so many of you have reached out through social media on Facebook and Instagram, I tried, but I think I cannot reach out to each one of you and answer separately to the questions. So here you are with the video, and I will try my best to give you answers to all the questions that you have for me. And since there are many students who have been reaching out to me regarding the accommodation and what are the most or important things and must-dos when they reach there, I will definitely talk about them, but that's going to be the second section of the video. First, I will just let you know in general how it is to be an expat in Germany. So here you go. Now, I think firstly it's very important to understand what it means to be an expat anywhere in the world. It's basically that you are living in a certain country which is not yours first, and second is that you are there for some time. It's not permanent. So that's different from being an immigrant in a country where you are planning to stay there forever. It is a different, initially it might not be, but since when your goal is different, you might return to your own country, or later you might just go somewhere else. So the experience can differ, and the reason or what you really need to do over there for survival, first of all, when you go over there, and then the part of being integrated can be a little different. So for expats, I would say for me, I myself am right now an expat in Germany because I'm there as a student, so I have not been living in Germany before that. And would I be living or not is not sure, right? So I can certainly move back, or I can move somewhere else. It's totally up to me, or I can live there. These are the things that you have to understand that can actually influence how much of an effort you make, or how much an effort you should actually make initially and definitely further. It's totally depending on the people as well, what they want, what they don't, but yeah, that it is. So if I just talk in general about what you should really do initially when you land in Germany, it can be a little different for which part of Germany you are, whether it's south or it's north, it's east or west, that's the kind of thing. So the culture definitely changes. I mean, I wouldn't say the culture, maybe the openness may change regarding to the side of Germany you are in at that time. But it's there was one question I was asked, and it was about what I should do when what are the must-dos I should know when I land in Germany. So in general, even if you're a student or you're just an expat coming for a job, maybe you can. So these are the things that you should really need to know. In the first week at least, you should know. The very first one is that as soon as possible you take your ticket, the transportation ticket, because in Germany you will see always U-Bahn, the trains and buses. It's really convenient over there, but for that you need to have a ticket to travel, and you can get issued the ticket from almost all the stations, and sometimes you can also get the ticket in buses as well. They do have that system too, so it's not really hard, but they definitely have zones in different cities. For example, in Munich there are different zones for how many zones you want to take, and whether it is for a month or is it weekly that you're taking. And for students it can be a student ticket, so you need to really make sure that you have a ticket and do not try to travel without it, because this is a German way of doing things, that they have system of keeping a check where the MVG, the you can say the required or the responsible institute for this, they come and just like normal people, they're dressed like normal people. They will come and they will ask you after showing their badge that show the ticket, and if you don't have, you will be fined 60 euros. And if you're a student, if you show the card and if you do not have the ticket at that time, maybe it can be done to 5 euro later if you show the ticket. Otherwise, it is certainly 60 euros if you do not have a ticket one time. So that can be, I think it's really important that you keep check on that you do not miss these things. My one big advice for you would be that always have one friend, and that is cash in hand for you, because it's really important in Germany. Initially, in initial days, definitely you want, and even after that you should have some cash in your pocket, because there are many restaurants that do not accept say cards if the bill is below 15 euro or sometimes even 10 euro, but usually they ask for cash, and it comes really handy if you always have cash. It helps you from being embarrassed even when you have cash and in bank but you cannot pay. So yeah, you don't want that to happen. And one thing that really is one thing that amused me and what happened with me as well was that I landed in Germany on Saturday, and I went out on Sunday morning, and everything was closed. Everything was simply closed, and I was like, what is going on here? Then I got to know that on Sunday all the shops are closed in Germany. It was like, what on earth is happening here? But after some time I got used to it, and now that I think about it, I think it actually makes sense that even the people who work at shops, why should they work on Sunday? They should have a holiday too. But after some time it gets normalized. But so make sure that you have your groceries done, you have everything, food or any other important thing that you need to do, you are done with it by Friday or maximum Saturday, because restaurants or something like this, like departmental stores, everything is open on Saturday, but on Sunday there are usually very few restaurants, even I would say, that are open. But otherwise all the grocery stores and other shopping centers, everything will be closed, and you would probably just go to some park or things like that to have a quality time, but not really go for shopping. That's not going to be the case. Now there are other few things that you should know when you get there, because otherwise it can cause you to hear some German not so good words which you won't even understand, but people may say it, and just save yourself from that. So the first one I would say is that whenever you are standing on an elevator, make sure you're always on the right side and leave the left side for the people who want to walk up. So if you want to stand still, just make sure you're on the right side. So otherwise you will be blocking the side for people to go up. That's one. The other one is that whenever there is a red sign for the people to walk on the road, which means that you cannot cross the road at that time. Okay, if you see any German doing that, which is very rare, but if you see, still don't do it, because being a foreigner, it can be a little more risky for you because you don't live there. And the other thing would be that just for God forbid, if something happens, it can be very bad, because usually cars come in a very high speed, so the speed is really fast and you don't want to get yourself in a trouble. And not just that, if you cross it, you will certainly get some stares which you don't want to have. And the third one I would say is that whenever you're about to get on the train, always stand on the sides when the gate opens, the door opens, so people who are inside of the train, they can come out first and then you should go inside. Otherwise it is seen as a sign of disrespect, and which is it actually, by the way. So whenever that is the case for the train and the bus, you should always stay on the sides to let the other people come out first and then go inside, because sometimes in other countries or there is no certain way of doing things, you just do them. So, but that's Germany, and Germany has rules, and it's always good to follow them. Okay, so whenever you go to a different country, it's always going to be different cultures from where you are, even if it's like in the same, continent. It's going to be different, and the more you know about it, the better it will be, because by that you would know where you are standing right now, and even if there's going to be too much of a difference, you will be at some extent ready for that, you know. But things come up, and you may find yourself into situations that are completely out of your control, or something totally new for you. Accept it, that it's going to happen, and it's normal. So don't be hard on yourself. That would be my advice to you, and don't go in the panic mode. How you can do it is by knowing that initially when you go, there can be cultural shock for you. Cultural shock is there. What are the stages? It helps you to know. The very first is going to be the honeymoon stage, where you'll be like, okay, I'm in a different place, this is so good, this is so nice, and I'm gonna do this, this is what I have planned, oh my god, this is amazing. Then comes the frustration stage, which is, I think, honeymoon stage would be very short for you, because especially if the culture is very different, because you start questioning things, and if things are done very differently from what you are used to, then the frustration phase is going to come very soon on you. And in that case, what happens is that it can be because of the culture, language barrier for you. It can be because whether people are very reserved or not. If we talk about specifically Germany, it can actually differ from cities to cities. I would say south side is much more reserved than the other side. If I try to make a comparison between Berlin and Munich, so Berlin is seen as a city which is way more friendly than Munich, because Munich is where people are quite reserved, and it's just the culture over there. So if you know about that, it might help you to initially understand, okay, this is how people are, but when you experience things, they will definitely at some point affect you more than what you thought it may do. So that's how it's going to be. It can be the frustration, and the frustration level can go for, the phase can go for quite some time. Then comes a time when you start adopting things, but in a form of adjustment. The adjustment stage is where you know, okay, this is how things are done here, this is what I am used to doing things, how can I make this work? So when you try to make things work for yourself, there's certainly going to be a new way of doing things that is not exactly how it's being done there, and it's also not how you have been doing for yourself. So that will be, and finally the adoption one would be where you accept things as they are, you get integrated in the culture, in the society, and you no more longer, like, you don't feel any longer misplaced or misfit in the place. You accept things, you make your own reality, and you start going in a more stable mode, I would say. So you will go through all these stages, don't worry about it, but just make sure that you enjoy all of them. Even if it's like the frustration stage, you should know this will pass too, and this is a new experience, and I'm glad I'm having it at least. So that really helps if you want to know. So from my side, if I can advise anyone to make his or her experience more interesting, or it's more integrative, my advice would be that try to learn German as soon as possible, because Germans actually love their language. It's understandable, but they love when foreigners try to speak it. There are two perspectives of this, like how you can work this out. Initially, if you are someone, if you are only there for 1 or 2 years, like you're working and you're not even sure if you're gonna stay there in Germany for long or not, And if you're in one of the major cities, then you can see whether, like, to what extent you can learn the language, because German is one of the languages which is a very hard, I would say. And why I found it very hard is because if you're someone who has been speaking English for your whole life, if you're bilingual or something, you will find it very hard to make sense out of German grammar, you know. They have verb, something before noun, stuff like that. But apart from that, the pronunciation of words, of certain letters actually, I would say, is different. However, when you see A, B, C, D, they use the same letters, but the pronunciation is different. So when you're trying to make a word of something and when you're trying to pronounce it, it can be tiring. It can be like really getting on your nerves sometimes. And the structure of the German language is also very different. But if you're someone who really loves learning languages, that would be great for you. Apart from that, when you're trying to get yourself integrated in a culture, despite of which country it is, I think it's naturally good that, or it's good for you that you should know the language of that place. If you're going to be an immigrant for there, definitely you have no other option but to learn German. But if you are someone who is planning to be there for 4 or 5 years, maybe what you can try is that you can try to improve your German as much as possible. They have different levels of German, which German language that you can go to. The very first one is A1, A1.1, 2, then B, B1, B2, and then comes the C level, which is advanced level, as it is in English as well. So that's going to be the case. What was very surprising for me was that in major cities of Germany, you can manage without knowing a lot of German. It's a good thing, but only if the major thing that you're doing, for example, if you are there for work, if your job is entirely in English, then it might help you. But when it comes to talking to people, you will realize slowly but gradually that somewhere you will feel misfit, because they will shift to speaking German out of nowhere, and then you'll be like, oh, what? Sorry, what did you say? So that can be a little frustrating as well. They won't do it intentionally sometimes they do, but when they don't do intentionally, it's just that you don't know what they're saying, right? It can happen with anyone. So that can be one case. But if you are specifically in, I would say in Berlin or in Munich or even in Hamburg, it should not be initially for you that big of a challenge, but make sure that you do, because when you go to the grocery stores, the workers over there probably do not know English. Very little of them do. So you might have a challenge in realizing what they're saying or asking them for something. Then the best friend that you have over there is Google Translator. It saved my life, I would say. I would not have survived without Google Translator, because every time I used to take something and try to read, okay, what is written on it, what ingredients these are, or what that exactly is. So you have to translate it, everything, and yeah, it can be very tiring, but you go through these challenges. But one thing I know is that once you start learning German, Germans are very, very open to helping you out with their language. They will be very patient when you are even speaking like nonsense of German. You have no idea the sentence structure, you have ruined it, but they will make sure that they let you know that this is how you speak it. They help it, but it can be a difficult thing, and my advice for you would be that if you are someone who has some time between getting, you know that you will be coming to Germany in next 5 months or in next 6 months, always try to learn the language first at home country. Usually Goethe Institute is in almost many of the countries, I would say, so try to get just enrolled in Goethe Institute, because when you are trying to make a basis of a language, it's really important to understand what those specific words would mean. When you come to Germany, first of all, it can be expensive, definitely. When you pay in euros or something like that, it will be expensive than if you're doing it somewhere else, right? In your home country. So when you do it, it is easier to make a sentence in your own language first, or know what that means, and then trying to translate it into German itself. For me, it was a bit of a challenge, because when I can share my own experience, and that was when I tried to learn German. It was more like when I asked many questions in the class, and I was like, okay, why is it like this? Why is it like this? And at the end, the instructor was like, well, it's a language. How about you just learn it? And for me, it is very big challenge to make a sense out of things that I have no idea what they are. So that can be one. If on the other hand, on the contrary, if I would have done it in my own, the basis in my own country, I'm pretty sure there are ways that you can do in your own language that you can mentally make a relation to things and then speak about it, or just it helps to remember you those things. So that happens. So try to do it. I would highly advise you to know some German before you come to Germany, else you will find yourself just like I did. When anyone was speaking, I was like, sir, do you know English? And then they'll be like, nine. And then sometimes, usually people are quite, I would say, understanding when they know that you are completely, like, you have no idea what German is. They might try to initially talk to you in English. The younger generation is way open to speaking English without making you feel bad that you don't know German. But at some point, yeah, you will always find that you're not getting what you really wanted to out of conversations, because at some point you are not getting there. That happens. Now, the other one of the most asked question by me is, what is the cost of living in Germany? Tell us, what is the cost of living? Look, I cannot give you the exact cost of living in Germany for everyone. It really depends it really depends on where you're going in Germany. If you are in a major city, again, it depends what kind of the reason why you are in Germany, first of all, whether it's just because you're an expat, you're working over there, or you're there for job seeking visa, I don't know, or you are there being a student. So it can be different for everyone over there. For example, in Berlin, what happens is that when you go there, Berlin is the most, I would say, more friendly and very diverse in that regard. You will find that over there it's a lot cheaper. Berlin is considered to be a lot cheaper when it comes to the cost of living in comparison to cities like Munich, or maybe Hamburg, I'm not sure, but yeah, because in Munich the cost of living can be very high. Now I'm saying it because recently, because of overall from the start, Munich is seen to be a very expensive city, because over there you will see a lot of working population due to employment opportunities maybe, but in comparison to Berlin, and in Berlin things are relatively cheaper. For example, the food is quite cheaper in Berlin. You can get a good quality meal maybe in €5 or something, and that same quantity or the quality meal that you will get in Munich can be something around 9-10 euros if it's something 5-6 euros in Berlin. So it can be that big of a difference. If you go to Berlin, you can eat a lot in the same amount of money. But yeah, in Munich everything is more expensive. Let it be the food, let it be the clothing, the accommodation. All of these things can be very expensive. When it comes to accommodation, you need to be very careful about it. The accommodation in Munich is crude. I mean, it can almost can make you cry, like what on earth is going on with me. The reason is because, especially because of the COVID now, the prices have risen, like they are ridiculously expensive now. And if you are looking for a studio apartment, you cannot expect something good to be not around like 650 or 700, and this is something that I'm telling you, if you're lucky you can get it, but otherwise you will find it very, very hard to pay. And there was this recent article I was reading about it, and it says that usually something around 50-40% of the income can go on the rent in Munich, because it can be that expensive. What now people prefer is to take one apartment and try to share it. But if you really love your own privacy and you want to have a quality of life, definitely, then you will be inclined to get something which is not on the basis of sharing, but something of your own. For that, it can be very expensive. The accommodation is it's also very different over here. The people usually do not always own houses. These are usually flats they have, or the apartments you can say, in which they live, because otherwise, I mean, to own a house in Munich you have to be super rich, and if you are, good for you. But if you aren't, then yeah, usually they go for apartments, small apartments over there. Similarly, it's seen as in Berlin. I have some friends over there, and they did mention that even Berlin is very good when it comes to clothing or food side, but apart from that, it can also be very, you can say, when it comes to accommodation, you can find yourself in a very difficult place to actually find you can say apartment or something that is near your workplace or near your university, or the transportation is not that big of a deal over there. So yeah, it can be one thing. So just make sure that if you are coming to Germany, you have made some arrangements for that beforehand. Maybe online, you can see a lot of options online. People are always posting on different websites. There are different apps through which you can find the apartments, and then there are some Facebook groups as well, where you can get in contact with the people who are posting their places for a certain amount of time. Then you show them, okay, that you do have enough of money to give them the deposit, because whenever you take a place, you always have to give the deposit for that as well. And the deposits can be really, I would say, quite lump sum of amount of money, because they need to have a security, because just in case if you break anything in the apartment, or if you cause any damage, at the end when you're leaving that place, they will deduct it from your security. So you're not just giving them the monthly rent, you should also have some amount that you can give as a deposit to show security. This is very important for that point as well. Well, if you talk about the prices of, for the accommodation in Munich, the prices have hit the roof, I would say, because they have gone really, really high after COVID. And if you're trying to find a decent place for yourself, then just be ready to spend fine amount of your salary or whatever your saving is on that thing, because yeah, it's going to be hard for you. The tax system, since it's progressive tax system in Germany, which means the more you earn, the more you're going to pay. it's going to be a very big amount of or a share of your salary that goes in the taxes. However, you can always file for a tax return at the end of the year and you can claim it, but you will be spending. So when you decide that okay, you're going to have a job or something and you will be earning this much, just be mentally prepared that it's not going to be the same amount or near the same amount that gross is showing, because it's something around, I do not remember the exact, but it's more than 30%. I would say more than 30% for the taxes in which you have to pay to the government, and that also includes that you pay for the pension of old people over there as well. These are the things that you need to keep in mind before you decide to move to Germany for the job or studying. So you should, I mean, for study it's going to be different definitely, but you're certain if you are going to be a person working over there for some years, you will be paying heavy amount of taxes. Yes. The insurance, yes, definitely you would need insurance. It's mandatory after, I mean, you can certainly have travel insurance in the start, but then when you come to Germany, you either can have a private insurance or you can have a public insurance. Now, when it comes to private insurance, it can be a lot cheaper than public insurance, but I would always suggest that you have public insurance because it usually covers most of the things, and just in case, God forbid, if you get into any accident or something like that, then everything will be covered by the insurance, while on the other side, when it's private insurance, it's usually covering very few aspects of health. And when you go, for example, to a dentist to get some surgery done, or maybe you need some urgent help, then they will probably charge you way more than you will be charged if you have public insurance. Right now, it can again differ for students and the people who are working. When you are working, your insurance is managed from the company side. They have insurance which is like deducted from before the income comes in your account, the salary comes in your account. But when you are a student, it's going to be definitely different, the amount as well, and the procedure. So in the next section of the video, I will be talking about the students and what their insurance is about, how they can do it, and what's usually the amount for the insurance. So yeah, that will be covered over there, but this is how it's going to be. So just make sure that you have the insurance and you will be good. You will be covered. If you have I would say public insurance, you will be all good in that regard. Now, another thing that you should really be very well aware of being an expat in Germany is that you need to mentally accept that bureaucracy is real. So yeah, bureaucracy in Germany is real. You would always have very long procedures of doing things, and it can be sometimes very mind-boggling for you, like if the actual task is like really small, but then there's a lot of paperwork that you need to go through just to get something done, and there are a lot of policies, and I mean, you really need to do things, or you just need to make sure that you're doing everything by the rule of book. Just try to be patient when you get through things, because even if you want to have an appointment, you would have to first give some information, get some forms filled in, then they will let you know. So these things can really take a toll on you, and for that, what I can suggest for you from my experience, and I know that it really helps, is that knowing patience is a virtue, and it fits perfectly. If you are an expat in Germany, it fits perfectly, because there will be tasks that will take long time to do it. Then you would have to make multiple calls maybe for the same appointment, or you have to, they might not listen to you initially because on phone there's someone who does not understand English if you do not know German. So these are the challenges that you will definitely see, and then you realize that you can't really do anything except understanding that these are the things, that's how things are done, and just stay patient. It can really pay you off in Germany if you understand it, because it's just the way how things are done over there. Because usually what happens is that maybe despite that you know that it can be done in a different way, which is a lot easier, and it's not even wrong, it's just simpler way, but because there is a certain procedure, you just cannot play with it and you cannot do it despite knowing that it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with the other option, but it's just not seen as something which can be done. So yeah, you just need to be patient, and with time you will, I hope you get through it, and you solve things in that regard. And now that I have told you about the major, I would say, things that you should know when you're planning or just want to come to Germany, these are the things that you should take care of before making the final decision. But that's not the end. I mean, these are certainly some challenges or must-dos that you should know. But apart from them, there are certainly things that make it worth it if you want to come to Germany. The whole experience and why you should actually come can be a totally different experience and aspect that may be able to tell you that okay, it's fine that you had to go through the struggle or something like that, but yeah, anyway you should do it. So one of them, very first one of them would be I would say the overall quality of life, I would say, is amazing in Germany in comparison to many other countries, not just in other, like, I wouldn't say just Asia or something else. Even within Europe, if you compare, Germany is way more advanced. It has really clear and I would say very straight drawn rules about what thing is what and how things needs to be done. Like everything should be how things need to be done. These are the aspects which make you consider like, okay, sure, the things have been in a different way, but at the end you just you feel it's worth it, if you want to say it that way. What I really admire about living in Germany or something like that is I admire the quality of being disciplined. Germans are amazingly disciplined, and their time management skills are wow. If you talk about it, it is so impressive how everyone is so considerate of your time. They literally see the value in time, and they do not want to waste it, especially when it comes to working. They will be on time, everything will be finished at a certain point of time, then you can relax, or there's a procedure for everything. And what it made me actually realize that this is one skill of being organized that can make a big difference, not just in your professional life, but it actually changes you as a person. And when you start doing things in a more proactive manner, or when you're really clear about how you want to take things forward, the level of clarity you get, the confidence level that you get afterwards, is completely different, and you will find that difference within yourself as well. I can assure you, once you get through it. I personally always loved people who from the start take care of these things and are very good at time management. But now that if I see someone not valuing the time, it really pushes my button, and my cheeks can get red in that regard. But yeah, that can happen. So discipline is one thing. The other thing that I love is the convenience when it comes to transportation in Germany. The transportation system is so on point, although there are some occasionally you can say strikes nowadays or this, but that is usually because of the union or different aspects. But you will always see that the German U-Bahns, the trains, the buses are mostly on time. And if Germans think that they are not on time, that's really not the case, because if in other countries, if you see, it can get a lot of worse. The traffic in Germany is way less than you can ever imagine in different other big countries. So if I see my own country, I know how like what a toll it can take on you because of this. So if you don't, it's a big relief, or it's a big gift, I would say. In Germany, it's so on point. It's not just within the city, it's in fact like overall how they connect with other cities as well. The overall stations and everything is so on time. You will love it. So in Germany, I think given the convenience and how reliable the transportation system can be, one doesn't really need to own a car to always commute. So you can certainly if you want to, but sometimes in country, for example my own home country, if I really want to have a reliable transportation system, we will always have our own transportation means, our own car or some way how we choose to go, and it's not going to be something that we rely on public transportation at all. So that is a big bliss for Germans and for anyone who lives in Germany. You will not know how big of a blessing it is unless you have been in some other place and where you can see like what literally frustration it can cause when you have delays, a lot of delays, and not just occasionally but on daily routine. So yeah, that is really big advantage if you live in Germany, or if you plan to stay in Germany for some years while working over here. That can actually help you. Other than that, I would say like one of the biggest attraction for people that are coming to Germany right now is the healthcare system, and maybe the education quality, the access of education, and the education is basically free. Everyone gets education in the universities right now. All of them are like free public universities are there, one of the most renowned universities in the whole world. So it's not just like you getting into a university, but it also that you're getting a quality education, which is not something, and it's seen as a privilege in many other countries and areas of the world. So yeah, that is one of the most attractive thing for immigrants, and as well as for the expats, especially for the students who come over here, because you get the exposure, you get the education, and you don't really need to come from a very privileged background or a rich background to have a right to education, which should be how it is supposed to be in around the whole world. But unfortunately the life is not fair, and that's not how the world works. Different laws, different, you can say, situation and everything, resources countries have, so you can't really bargain overhead or something like that. But that's one of the realities and one of the advantages, I would say, that you have in Germany if you go over there, and you will certainly see the difference. But when it comes to education, and specifically I will talk about it more when I talk about the student living style and how education is over here. I will mention it more. But otherwise, if someone is coming over here to live with his family and has children, and they're planning to stay over here for like 5-10 years because of the work or something, you can expect your children to have the same quality education. Sure, there are private schools, but majority what I have seen is that they prefer public schools, and that is how I would prefer if the quality of education is there in the country as well. So it's cool. When we talk about work-life balance, I think it would be very safe to give an example of Germany in this regard, because they prefer working only when they are in offices or in the working hours, and not beyond that, because they have a very fine line between having professional life and personal life, how much of time is allocated for family, how much is for office. If you are trying to reach them out afterwards, maybe after working hours, they might not be available, and they won't be sorry for that, because it is their family time, and you need to respect that. And this is how it should be everywhere. Unfortunately, I mean, even if you see in America, the people are working day and night. Let it be Canada, let it be America, let it be Asia. People are working like machines, and at some point they forget that yes, they don't really know, or the concept of just working for a certain time or certain hours seems like a privilege or something that is so unusual, because if you do, like, oh my god, what is happening? And the access to equality in this regard is something that I really appreciate in Germany, because it's not just like, if you have skills in Germany, right, and you know how to get work done, you will be recognized for your efforts. You will be recognized not just because you're working extra hours or something like that. In fact, it can go other way around. They might see it as a sign like you are not able to complete your task in time, maybe. But again, there can be culture differences, not just because you're not able to do it. It's just like you are used to of giving more than what you should actually. So you are expected in Germany to give as much you are asked and not beyond that. And if you are doing good work in that given time and completing your task, you will be recognized for that. And that I love about it, because it should not be made normal to work like machine, which is nowadays the case everywhere almost, except for, I would say, like really developed countries in Europe as well. So yeah, that's really nice. And if you do work in Germany and live as an expat, I'm pretty sure you will be able to see the difference and talk about it and tell about it. And when you experience it, you will be like, oh my god, okay, this is also a way of living that can be done too. So yeah, you will be certainly surprised, but in a very positive way. Another reason for which Germany should be on your list, and the reason totally that is legit, is the safety you get in Germany is exceptional, I would say. You will never feel as if, at least in the big cities, that it's unsafe or something like that. Especially in Munich, I would say that it's really safe. You wouldn't see anyone bothering other people or something like that, or just in case, God forbid, if there is something, the police is really efficient and they will always respond to you. So I would say the safety is also one of the big reasons why people nowadays are more inclined towards Germany, because I mean, having the sense of security gives you the space to think of other things as well, so that is one of the things that you will experience and will exceptionally like in that regard as well. Apart from this, the cultural aspect of the country, certainly Germany is known to be a little reserved and a more formal country than other, I would say, because East Europe is a little bit more open in comparison to like countries like Germany. They're very formal, especially when you meet them for the first time or something like that. You will always have conversations that are talking about just how are you, how things are, but you should not expect like you will have a very deep meaning conversation, something like that. So yes, that can be one of the challenges, but once you start integrating, and if you really know German, it will be easier for you to integrate, and then you can certainly feel more into the culture. You will feel more grounded, and things will get easier with time, certainly. But These are the challenges that you might face, but once there is, you all know that it is known about Germans, that once you are friends with them, and if they are in a comfort zone with you, they tend to be long-term friendships. It will not be with everyone, but having too many acquaintances in Germany might not be the case. But yeah, you might have few, but it should be worth it, and that's one way to go about it, and you will embrace it, I would say. Now, the other thing that I really got fascinated, and I know that it's going to be a big advantage if you move to Germany, is the hostel system. You can easily stay in different cities if you have to move around for work, or not just for work. You don't for going to on vacations. You can take vacations on weekend and then you go for a holiday. Maybe you can stay in hostels. Even in Germany, it's a big thing that you stay in, especially in Europe, I would say it's a big thing that you don't really need to book hotels and pay a lot of money for that. Instead, what you can do is that you can book a room in hostel. You can have a separate room, you can have a shared room, girls room, co-room, whatever is more convenient for you. You can stay over there, you can meet new people from different cultural backgrounds, and try to connect with them. And even if you do not make very deep meaningful relationship, it's just a way to see where people come from or what are their stories. Just be a part of their story for some time, and you learn a lot from this as well. So it's not just like, it is cost effective, it is very cost effective, and apart from that, you have the privilege to always explore or to gain more knowledge through people, through places, and that helps. That really helps in your self-development. You learn ways, you learn things hard way as well, but then you also see how what a nostalgic, I would say, effect those memories can have on you if you really get to meet new people or people that are now a really big part of your life then. So these are the things that will really shape you in a way that you become more flexible, more adaptive, and at the end it's always good for you because change is always there. Now, when it comes to like how do Germans really spend their time when they're not working or something, Germans really love, I would say, or in Germany the natural trend is to always do some kind of an activity that really gives you a chance to do something new. So there are a lot of activities that you can try. One of the most favorites that I have seen in Germany is hiking. The scenery, the places are exceptionally beautiful, they are breathtaking, and I would say they are worth it. When you walk hours just to hike and then go and see the view, they are amazing, and you just want to stare at the view for, I don't know, as long as you can, and it's really beautiful. It's not just healthy, it's one of the reasons they hike a lot is because they're very health conscious, and they like to do bicycling also, because bicycling I've seen them doing with their children in the parks, otherwise just going on bicycle tours with friends or something. And it's a big part of, I would say, European lifestyle, that you bicycle a lot and you just do some physical activity to remain fit and healthy in this regard. So yeah, you would certainly see that they hike, they do bicycling, and you would see a lot of them doing skiing. It's something that is on my list as well, but I didn't really get a chance. And one of the reasons, one of the things that really gets you sometimes is that when you are living in Germany, life can be so much busy that getting time out to try everything would be a really hard task. All the Germans somehow manage to do it, but being an expat, I would say it can be a little harder. For Germans it might not be, but when you're an expat you have to you have certain restrictions, maybe you have certain rules to follow, extra rules, so that can put you in a place where you might find yourself with shortage of time to experiment with everything. Whereas if you're just in Europe or in Germany for vacation, then you know that you're there over just to, experience everything and go everywhere and try out. It's a different experience. But despite everything, if you are living in Germany, just make sure you do not miss on the amazing hiking spots that are near Munich if you live over there. There are different spots, there are different places to see in different cities. I'm pretty sure I have not been able to see all of them, but you will if you go, and if you can take time out, there's nothing better than that. Because at the end, Germany is known for the nature. It is breathtaking, I can assure you. Even if you just see the pictures, you will know that it's amazing, it's beautiful, and you want to see each and every place. But just getting a chance to see each and every place is also like a wish come true if you can. And there are a lot of I would say beer gardens. Beer gardens are a big part of German culture. So what you really do in beer garden is that you sit down with friends or family. Germans or anyone who drinks beer, they can drink beer over there, have chats, then they talk, they do different activities like playing something, I don't know. So they spend a lot of time, and since beer is a big part of a culture, it's one of the major parts of German culture. So you will see it being very normal that you see beer in offices as well. You see in every part, it's involved in every kind of activity almost in Germany. So if you are someone who is more inclined to these kinds of activities, you will be in heaven for that. This one I have seen many people talking about as well, and I can tell you by personal experience too that this is very much true. That when you are an expat in Germany, which means that you're there for some time and you're a foreigner, you will find it as a challenge to integrate or make some local friends, because I would say naturally, Germans are a little reserved. So once they have a little wall in between. Initially they might not open to you very quickly, or they will have a very formal conversation with you. They might not even be able to have a lot of conversation if they are not really good at English. So that can be one of the barriers as well. And it's just the way German language is. German language is very precise. So something that we would use a lot of words to say, they literally, you can say or mean the same thing in just one or two words in German. So that can be, I would say, a different way of speaking maybe, and every language has its own way of communication, which also influences how we express ourselves. So what I have noticed, and with my own experience, I've seen that the German language is so precise and to the point that you would hardly see any German just trying to express a lot. They will try to say things in a very precise manner, and this sometimes expats can take as a sign that that Germans are not interested, and sometimes they might not be interested. That can actually be true, but it can go both ways. And but you will initial months, I would say, you will get a lot of chances to make friends from different countries, because Germany overall has a lot of diversity, I would say. And when you are in cities like Berlin or Munich, you will see a lot of diversity, people with certain very different culture backgrounds. So you will meet them and you will become friends with them. But if you're trying to be friends with German, first of all, it's going to take some time for them to open up. Second of all, it will take more than just communication. It would require a lot of listening as well, because when they say, they really mean it, and they might not say a lot as well. And then especially if you do not know German language, so it can be a little more effort But if you have spent a lot of time and that friendship has been given effort and time and the wholeheartedly, then it can really turn into a deep, full, meaningful relationship. Um, but if you have given time and if you have given a lot of effort, then it can turn out to be a very meaningful bond that you share with a German friend as well. But and one thing that you really need to be careful for is that Germans usually take things on a very face value. So don't try to be too, try too much of a sense of humor with them, because one thing that you really need to be aware of is that Germans take things on a very face value, which means that if you're saying that this is how it's going to be, and maybe you're just saying it in a different way or just in a sarcastic way, it might not even run through their mind that you're saying it in a different direction, or you're meaning it in an indirect way, or you're saying this but you mean something else, or you're trying to indicate trying to create a link. No, that's not how it is. So if German, usually people are saying that it's not good, it means it's not good. If you ask them how are you, they will literally think that it's not just like a general question that you're asking them out of politeness. They might just take it that you're actually asking how their day is, and they will start giving you details. So just make sure that when you're asking it, you mean it, and that's why you won't see them making a lot of acquaintances, and you will find it hard if you are someone who likes to have a big social circle and you have your friends, but you just like to have small conversations. I'm not saying you won't have, but yes, you will have your own challenges in this regard as well. So just be a little bit careful with your sense of humor, because you might be saying things in a very lightly manner or in a very light from a perception, but if your words are a little too rude on surface, then you can expect some trouble. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just like it's a cultural difference that they might not be able to understand, and so just try to play with that humor when you're back home or where you can be taken lightly. Yes. So now I'm going to talk about finally the student experience I have gone through in Germany, and if you are coming as a student, how things will be and what you can expect from it. So I will try my best to answer all the questions in my overall review that I'm giving you, because it's really hard to write answers to each and every question. So the ones that are the most common ones I have seen in all of your queries regarding applications and everything, I will let you know. So the very first thing that I have been usually asked is about how to apply for admissions in Germany. This again is a very general question, and I cannot answer it for every one of you, because people from different regions have asked me this question. I really cannot say it, because at the end what I can tell you is that German universities have a certain procedure that goes through Uni Assist, specifically for public university, through which you have to apply, and then once you apply for that, you get a VPD. A VPD is basically a certificate that ensures that your university or your credential, everything matches for the degree or whatever you're applying for, and then you go further and proceed with the university applications. Now this is majorly for public universities, however it can be private. I did not have experience with private university, so I cannot tell you about that, but that is for major universities that are very known in Germany. Apart from that, there are some public universities that do not take or do not have a procedure that goes through Uni Assist. So for that, what you can do is you can check out on the website, that is of the German That is a German website for the universities, and you can see whether you need an application through Uni Assist or not. So this was the very first question I got regarding the admissions. And the other one is regarding again, I got a lot of questions regarding the accommodation for students. As I told you, in general, not just for students but overall, the accommodation situation can be quite critical. And the major universities that people go to are in like Munich, Berlin, Frankfurt, Hamburg, Aachen. These are the cities that major attract students because of known universities. So if you are trying to get accommodation, the one way and the most convenient would be that once you know that you have admission with you, you should immediately apply for accommodation with the student unions. Or they have student unions with different names who have, I would say, dorms that are public universities for which those dorms are, and then you can apply for rooms. The waiting area for the waiting time for those rooms can be quite long. That's a heads up, but you can certainly apply. In the meantime, what you can do is you can always reach out to the student community and ask them if someone has a room. Maybe you can take as a sublet for 2 to 3 months and then move around. It can be very hectic, it can be very tiresome, and can literally take a toll on you because of you might not feel stable at all initially in the first few months if you're coming as a student, as same as it happened to me. And I had no idea. I was changing places from one to another just after few months, and you're like, when am I going to feel certain in this place? So it can literally make you hate the place sometimes, but that's I would say just a part of a journey unless you find your own place. The other way can be that you try to contact someone from the university side who can help you out with the buddy. Maybe if they have a buddy program, they can help you out. You can have some German friend or some German colleague who can help you with that, who would certainly know German, and that makes things very easy. If you know German, that might give them or people preference as well. I don't see it much fair, but that's how it can be. That's how things can be, and you can't really do anything about it. This is another way to do it. Or what you can do is that you can certainly, if you know a friend who is going with you, or if you stay over there for a month and two and become friends with, or someone you know already, you can share a place with them as well. So it's a very common trend in Germany that you live in shared apartments with people. So you have your own room, but you probably might have just a shared kitchen, or maybe you have shared kitchen or a washroom or the lounge that you have. So it's very common, and usually people after a certain age move out of their parents' home, which is very normal now. And then you can live with them over there. Maybe if you're changing places, it might be easier for you if you are switching from city to the city, because you don't really own a place. And even if you do have your own place, you can always rent it out and then go to the other side. So that is also helpful in this regard when it comes to accommodation. But again, these things will be variable for you. It really depends on which university you are going in which city it is, and how things are over there. I can certainly help people who are coming to Munich and coming for the public universities specifically, because I know how the procedure goes through for those universities, and I have been helping people with that. But maybe if you're coming for a private university, then you can't really apply for those dorms. Then you need to look for a private place and stay there. And yes, it will be expensive. You should know that. It will be really, really expensive. Yeah. So just prepare yourself for that. Now, regarding the insurance, as I mentioned earlier, that insurance is something which is mandatory For students, luckily, what the thing is that you always are expected, you should have a mandatory student insurance. Although private insurance companies also provide student insurance, but we do not recommend them. And the insurance that are available over here are AOK and TK, which are most commonly used. They are the German insurance companies, public owned, I would say, government owned. So you can have those, and I would say monthly it is 105 euros. So per month you pay 105 euros for health insurance, and most of the things are covered in it. So just in case if you have a dental appointment or something, any kind of I would say normal level of surgery or something, it can be covered in it. I'm most certain that it is covered in it. However, there can be certain circumstances in which things, if it's not that big of a necessity but you still wanted things to be done, for example the cosmetic surgeries, these would probably not be covered in the health insurance, and you would have to pay extra for that. But other than that, the basic necessities or the major, just in case if you're having any pain or if you meet some accident or something, you will be taken care of, and which is a big part of the thing. You don't really need to worry like I have to spend thousands and thousands like that. You will have a big advantage of having you can say public insurance in this regard. So always I would say go for public insurance and not private insurance. This I can tell you by the experience I have my own, and also the people I have seen. Recently I know there was a person who unfortunately had an accident, and he had a private insurance. Afterwards, very few things were covered for him, and most of it he had to pay, and he found himself in a very difficult position because of it, financially as well. So just make sure that you do not do anything like this that gets you in trouble afterwards. So yeah. Another common question is like, do we have to always study in German language? Do we need a German language for studying in Germany? Well, the answer to this question is no. It is not necessary if you are doing masters in Germany. So there are many master degrees and programs that are offered in English, entirely English, or they give you certain options. So you might not have all the options to choose from, but if there are enough English options, you can certainly make a way and complete your degree. That will not be, it might have challenges, but it won't be impossible for you. But in bachelor's, I can tell you that you need to have German skills, because mostly you study, like you do entirely your whole bachelor degree in German. So if you want to come to Germany for study, and if you're just about to start your bachelor's, then yes, you need to give a proof of your German proficiency, and only then you will be given admission in the desired university if you fulfill all other criteria as well. So yeah, good luck to you if you are applying for any of these. But certainly, again, the proficiency level, what kind of proficiency level is needed, whether German language is required or not. Then another question was like, do universities require GMAT or GRE? It is not needed for all of the degrees, but it can be needed for some, and then you at least need to go through the requirements of the university, and specifically for the degree program, so what they are asking you for. Only then you can know whether it's needed or not. So this is the, I would say, work that you need to do by yourself. And in that case, if you're not really clear, then you can ask. First of all, ask the university that you're applying to, and if then you don't get that answer, then you can certainly ask people externally who are living over there or maybe doing the same degree. They can really be beneficial in that regard to help you out with this. Now for the for the transportation, when you are a student, you get a semester ticket, which is usually something around 200 euros, and it is per semester, which means 6 months. So you pay for 6 months and you can go, at least what I know for in Munich is that you can go anywhere in Munich on that ticket. You don't really need to care about which zone you are in. It's just that it's valid for traveling in Munich anywhere. So you don't really need to worry about it, and it's very, very convenient because otherwise it can be a little expensive, but for students it's really nice because you have a student card, you have a student ticket, and there's another fact that after 6 p.m. Students are allowed to travel freely. I mean, by freely I mean without paying anything. If even if they don't have a ticket, semester ticket. So after 6 they can travel on transport like buses and trains without a ticket as well, just by having a student card. So that's also a very big relief, I would say. I mean, it would be very, very unlikely that you won't buy a ticket because you always need to go to university, or maybe you have other plans or other things to take care of to run errands. So I would really, really suggest that you buy the ticket and don't try to figure out the other ways, because that's not how it should be. And the other thing that is very, very attractive for students is that they can students in Germany can actually work if they want to, but they have certain restrictions of hours that they can work for, and even if they are doing internship, they actually get paid for that. In many countries I have seen a trend that when students do internship, they are not really taken seriously, or they don't even get paid. I mean, if they are working over there, they don't really get paid. They're supposed to do things which are very operational, like daily routine tasks, and sometimes they're not even related to work. So, but that's not what you will see in Germany. In fact, it's very other way around. It really gives you an opportunity to maybe switch to another field, or maybe try something new. If you have the skills, if you are eager to learn, if you have that urge and the motivation to get things done, maybe I would say that you will be really, really thankful to be in a place like Germany, which gives you a chance to start a new career maybe, or something like that, by just getting internship done, and which is also paid. So if you are doing a task for a company, they do recognize that and they will pay you for that, because otherwise, even if they don't, if they are mandatory internships, students can't really bargain anything. But there's a rule that if students are doing internships, they get paid. And not just that, students also have the opportunity to work at university. So they can work with professors and do HEVI jobs. So HEVI job is something like that you maybe are working as an assistant or working with a researcher or something like this, and then you get the minimum, mini job wage that you can earn over there. But this is not something which is compulsory. It is totally up to you if you want to do it or not. There are many students who don't do it at all because they feel like that they only need to focus on their studies instead of working. But instead of this, what I have seen, the trend in international students, I would say, is that they are more inclined towards doing something, not just studying, but it can be both ways. So it totally depends on you. You have this option as well, whether you want to avail it or not, whether it's suiting you or not. So you can choose. It's not something that other people are deciding for you. It's you to decide. So yeah, make a choice wisely, and no one would question it. But one thing that I found really, really intriguing, and I would say quite different as well, is the way I would say the teaching style in universities for me was very different. It is totally up to you. There are no certain attendance, I would say, compulsory attendance rules that you have to be 80% or 90% times in the class. There's no such rule, or you have to be present in certain things. All they ask you is to complete your coursework, to do your assignments, if there are any project works, to complete them, and appear for the exam. So if I in wholesome see the way of learning and the way of completing your whole degree is very focused and depends on how self-efficient you are. You will not be put into certain restrictions that you have to be here at some point, you have to be there or something like this. If you have a certain presentation, you will give presentation, you can go afterwards if you do not desire to stay or something like that. You are not even it is not even compulsory to come in all the classes. I'm not really sure if that's the case in all the universities or not, but at least in I would say in Technical University Munich, you are not forced to come to class unless it's the one which involves a lot of presentations in which you have to be very interactive. Students usually have their online, especially now because of COVID, students, everyone have they're doing classes online, so you can have your classmates that are sitting in the total different part of the world, and yet you guys are interacting, you're having virtual presentations, you're having virtual discussion, team groups, and working. It can come with its own challenges because sometimes when people from such diverse backgrounds come together, their working style can be different, their thinking way can be different. Now I think there were some few questions that were asked to me regarding my experiences. Yeah, so the very first one was, what did you find the most amusing thing in Germany? For me, I think there are many. I can't really pinpoint one. I would say, yeah, one thing that really amused me was that people in Germany actually fix their own beds and furniture, like literally everything. Their racks, their bed and tables and everything. So well, for me, back home, for me, everything is like ready-made. We don't really just sit and try to put everything together and put it into one way. But in Germany, on the other hand, it's like you make your own table, you make your own bed, try to fix them and put them together. So it was really interesting for me. And first of all, I was like, why do you put so much time when you're gonna have a ready-made thing? But then it's just how it is and over there, and it can be a very good way of I would say spending time with your loved ones, or just doing some activity that is actually productive, and you do things that way. So yeah, that was the one for me. Okay, so the other one is about how easy was it for you to integrate in the culture. So again, if you're asking me how easy it was for me to integrate in the culture, again, for me, I had the same challenges regarding the culture, and especially when it comes to the language. It was really initially hard, and I myself went through, I would say, each and every stage of cultural shock. But now I'm at a stage where I can say that yes, I know I have my own circle, I have my own priorities, right? And that is how it will be after some time, so you don't really need to worry about things. Just try to be more aware as much as possible, but let things flow with time and you will learn. I mean, you cannot know each and everything. Some things can be circumstantial, so just enjoy the journey and just love it off, even if there's something that's really stupid or which is unlikely but still happens. So yeah, just love it off. Would you recommend studying in Germany? Would I recommend studying in Germany? Definitely. I would highly recommend people who have I would say guts and have that vigorous energy to get things done, who are very focused, who are not afraid of challenges, I would say, to go for it. Because if you're kind of a person who gets really, I would say, more pumped up and more encouraged by having some new things to do or challenges, then this is definitely something that you would like to explore and would love each and every aspect of it, even if it's sometimes hard. It's a part of life to go through ups and downs, but if you do, it will make you a better person than ever before. Okay, now this question is basically again regarding, so you have asked me regarding overall expenses that you might have to incur. Well, what expenses you may incur as a student is basically, I can give you the major ones. The one is rent, the other one would be the health insurance expense you would have. Then definitely you would have to make sure that, I mean, for when you are living, you're going to have your daily expenses regarding food and groceries. So that is something you will have. These are the basic expenses that I'm telling you. Then for the transportation, it will be a one-time expense for the whole semester, but you will certainly incur it at some point. Then you would have to pay for services like mobile network, something like that. That is one basic which you will be incurring no matter what other expenses you are incurring or not. Apart from this, well, if you have Amazon Prime, then that will be another expense you cannot get out of, and it's really important. Yeah, so these are, I would say these are the major some expenses that I can count on my fingers for you, but it really again depends how much you as a person like to spend on your food, on your daily, you know, what's your lifestyle, how much you spend on clothing, how much you spend on having some entertainment outside, whether you like going to different places, what will be the expense on that. So these are the things that are definitely relative, but if you're just asking me for the basic expenses that you might incur while being in Germany, and just literally basic expenses, those I just told you, and these will be the one. Yes. So I really hope that I have been able to answer all the questions that you guys have been asking for. These were very general questions that almost each and every person who tried to reach out to me has asked me these questions. So these are and there are some really general questions, so I have to give some general answers to that, but I will try my best to help you as much as I can. So if you are someone who already have almost admission done or something like that, and then you need some really specific help from my side, then you can certainly contact me. I would be happy to help you as much as I can. I will try my best. So yeah, you can see my email below in the description box, and you can reach me out over there. So guys, I really hope you guys can have as much as possible knowledge from this video, and all the best for your future plans, and let's see how it goes for everyone. And I really hope by the end of this year COVID will be gone, or at least situation will get better. So everyone stay safe and healthy. Bye bye.